Great, thank you. Not the best place to be before lunch, but we'll try to make it as engaging as possible. And I'm sure between Chandan and Pallavi, we have a lot of interesting strategies that we can share with you all. So with, yes.
Please take your positions in order with. Oh.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
I took the wrong one to start with.
So I'm looking at 17 and a half minutes or 17 minutes precisely. So we'll try and make it as quick as possible and as engaging. I think most of us at this point in time of the year have two most important things on our mind. One is, how has the quarter been? And what are the interesting strategies that we have adopted along festives, getting into festive, good, bad, ugly. And the second is, getting into 2025 or our annual planning cycles, how can we think differently? So I'm going to take these two specifically and ask both Pallavi and Chandan to share best practices. Going to go straight and dive into that. Omni-Channel has clearly been established as one that will not only help you gain sales, but also drive customer loyalty. And this is at the back of a lot of data and insights that you are able to gather to be able to provide more personalized experiences to your customers. So given the quarter that we're in, any learnings and insights that you both will like to share on how data supported some of those decisions for you during this quarter, during this tough quarter?
Well, in this sort of world of today where there is so much of data and so much of digital data on top of that on a very real-time basis like we talked about, I think it's important to kind of, capture the potential of all this data. And today the consumer, at least for us being a FMCG, CPG company, the consumer shops and works across different channels. And these could be channels about engagement or media, and these could be, even channels around retail and some of the discussions that we have had, in some of the earlier sessions. So therefore, in this quarter and even before, and it'll only accelerate in the future, it's important to sort of, look at the consumer across different touch points and look at it from an omni-channel or multi-channel perspective. The way we differentiate a little bit between multi-channel and omni-channel is that in omni-channel, it's more about you have a single view of the consumer and then you work across different channels. From a multi-channel perspective, it could be the consumer working across different channels, but not necessarily fully sort of, connected in that way. But obviously, you look at our brands like Maggi, for example, we serve them advertising, communication on one particular channel, lead that to another. So you could be working on social, you lead that to Q-com or e-com. You kind of, connect with the consumer through the website, serve up a different recipe, for example, and then connect them through a buy now into something else. Or maybe learn more through another, area or another particular site where the consumer could experience something a little bit further, or may even work into a phygital or a physical store where you learn something more about, how to make certain recipes through Maggi and so on. And all this is connected in a more agile way. There's, of course, more first-party data coming in. The thing we need to remember from a FMCG perspective is that you could be a consumer who could be buying Maggi 5 times a year, 10 times, 50 times, 100 times, and we may not know you as a specific consumer. We have a broad idea of who you are, but may not be exactly there. We are trying to build more and more first-party data to kind of, understand that a little bit more so that we can build in more loyalty, like you said, build in more engagement, and build in more connection over a period of time. So it's really a deployment of different ways to serve the consumer through the entire consumer journey, and that is how we are looking at our omni-channel play.
Great. Thanks, Chandan. Pallavi, what about your experience?
We are a new kid on the block, so Vida is just very new. But what Manik was sharing just few minutes back was music to my ears. Our category is very emotional in general, right? Unlike FMCG, where every time you buy anything, you would have searched a lot. Of course, in search, in store, and in use matter a lot, especially in the auto category. But I think for our strategy, specifically for festive, what your question was, for auto, festive is a big marker. Yeah, it's when you sell the most or you don't sell that much. And then, of course, a lot of things happen after that. But it's been a very good quarter for us, considering where we were and where we started. Just 3 years into a very, very competitive landscape of electric. But I think our teams and across sales, service, and marketing, we've understood that it is not one vertical which has to fire, not just festive, but festive a quarter before festive is when you go into actually selling, right? Has been that working very closely with the end user, which is our dealer, and really understanding and being hyper-local, specific to the market where we don't have market share, and attacking the places where competition wasn't that strong and we could become much stronger and then gain market share. So I think one is the side of being omni-channel and really looking at how you're using technology to get insights, but how are you using those insights on ground to sell? And I think that is very important. And for an auto player or a product which is ideally used every day, a scooter you're using every day and it's primarily for your daily use, it's very important distribution. Like they want it now. They're not waiting for it, right? So I think for us, it's very important during festive that you're able to manage your stock well, you're able to distribute well, and ensure that whatever is available in the market, then only the ads are running. So I think for us, offline and online have to work very, very closely. And technology plays a very critical role to getting insights for us, and that's what we saw during festive, because we have a clear, our teams do a fantastic job because we're a digital-first brand. I still remember the first time we launched and the booking started, we didn't have stock at the dealerships, nothing, but we said that we will go and advertise and talk about, because you have to build something which nobody knew about. While we come from Hero MotoCorp, which is one of the biggest two-wheeler companies in the world. Still, when you were talking about electric, for which Hero doesn't have that forte, we had to really go all out and talk about why you should buy our product. So especially for our category, it is the features, it is why you should buy it, and what difference does it make, unlike a very fast-moving product. So I think for festive, just to close your first question, is that are working very closely with the last mile. Second, how you use technology to distribute content and data and use it for your local markets to sell. Yeah, that's primarily what we've been doing.
Thanks, Pallavi. So I'm going to pivot a bit and talk about some of the trends that we have observed at a macro level. We have obviously the macros in play in terms of our economic performance, urban not being, performing that well, rural, we've seen some kind of an uptake, CPG specifically, but overall I think there are macro trends both on the product and product innovation side, as well as the disruptive models of commerce that have come into play for us. So given that, context that we are headed towards, it'll be great to understand a bit from both Chandan and Pallavi in terms of how are you thinking about, what is it, the need of the hour, and how can we as marketeers think differently in terms of what kind of innovations do we need to bring in the product SKUs, how do we actually go to market and utilize the distribution channels differently, and the role data will play as you plan some of these, going forward. We'll start with you, Chandan.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, India is a large country. There's no one India in that sense of the term. There are sort of, it's a bit of a cliche, but many Indias, many different segments, many different consumers. There are urban and rural, and, within that also different town tiers and so on. There is a generational, element as well. There are young consumers of Gen Z and millennials, and even, today, if you look at Gen Alpha and even Gen Gamma, who are sort of being born now in 2020 and later and so on. And there are, of course, other generations. And then there are, of course, different cohorts and different segments. So very important for us to kind of, look at the opportunity for all these different segments, very, very specifically. Their needs are different, their expectations are different, the experiences are different. And if you look at young Gen Z consumers today in the metro urban cities, looking at a lot of variety in food, really kind of, looking for more experiences, looking for, higher order benefits in different ways. We did hear about some of the benefits that are there in skincare and other categories in an earlier session, in food as well, or nutrition as well, people getting more and more specific about what benefits and ingredients and RDAs and other things that people are looking at. So therefore, those are some of the trends, new cuisines that people are kind of trying, and so on and so forth. So a lot of innovation happening to essentially meet those needs and to be able to kind of cater to them. On the other side, from a channel and retail perspective as well, and this is where Omni-Channel and some of the retail media comes in a very, very sort of specific way, is the whole area around the evolution of the entire shopping behavior. While a lot of our business is still very, very offline, but if you look at online and if you look at the advent of e-commerce, which is now very substantial, and even within e-commerce, Q-commerce, where people are kind of, now wanting or getting things in a few minutes, in half an hour, in 20 minutes, or whatever, is again the way people are evolving in terms of shopping behavior. Previously people had to go and stock up things and so on, or maybe, call a Kirana store or something. Today, you're almost being assured delivery for FMCG product in 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is. So the shopping behavior, is not that. It's evolved quite a bit. People are searching less in some of these areas. In some categories, they search more, and there are more nuances, which are coming in, and this is where data analytics measurement comes in, of what exactly is the journey, what exactly is the behavior, what exactly are the paths that people are following, and this is where AI and other things can also help to decipher all that big data and all that fast-moving data to be able to understand the evolution of shopping behavior. And those are, sort of some of the big trends that we see. Of course, once you go down to different population strata, including rural, we do see certain pressures on demand still. And I think, some of those, that is evolving. And of course, there would be many different segments to look at from that perspective.
Great. Thanks, Chandan. Pallavi, in the auto? Slightly different? Very different?
I mean, like from a search point of view, no, because everybody wants more information, wants to find out why should I opt this product versus, one as competition product. But I think for a category which is very high on involvement, our biggest task is that how do we make a buying experience convenient? And because Blinkit and Zomato and Amazon have made life of the same user so simple, our expectation of the same user who wants to buy an electric motorcycle or a scooter, or even for that matter a car, why can't they do it as fast? Yeah. And that's the problem we need to solve. And it's a big problem because our offline channel being so strong, you have to also look at interest of the offline channel, but also ensure that the consumer who's evolving and changing, that's the biggest trend we are seeing. And our customers will also be 35 plus, and then you also have an 18-year-old buying. So investment for technology is something we are really looking at investing a lot from an AI point of view, but also from a point of view that how do we ensure that we do less is more? Because for us, it is very, very critical that we are able to identify every geography and consumers very differently. Yeah. Because considering South is very different and their needs, because they're very focused on performance. Their expectation on getting a vehicle on road faster, experiencing that much faster, because I'm a biker myself when I ride, and sometimes I think there is too much technology on my bike. Yeah. I don't need maybe so much. I just need where you're trying to solve my problem that I know which is the next petrol station, and I know if I can talk to my friend if I am getting stuck somewhere, and I don't want so much gizmo, which is what we were talking about, right? Yeah. So our from the industry point of view, the car industry has moved way far as compared to the two-wheel industry. But the trends we are seeing is that whatever technology we are trying to bring in products have to solve something for the user. If it's not solving, they're not ready to pay a price for it. It has to be attached to the value-added services model. If you feel value, they will pay. If they don't feel there is value in what we are charging, they're not ready to pay. Yeah. And it has to be linked to product, no frills attached. It has to be linked to, and those are the trends. And I think there's a lot of investment required for things which give benefit to the end user. A lot of you, I'm sure, have been using a car or a scooter or a motorcycle. Anybody who rides a motorcycle? Yeah. Oh, nice. Of course. So yeah, so I think from the auto perspective, the mega trends are that how do we bring technology which is solving for the end user something, and how do you ensure that the product life cycle, especially for electric, from a battery management point of view, swappable batteries, how do we ensure that we build trust, that people believe? And that's a big one for us to solve.
So I think a lot of the discussion around AI, and I'm going to switch gear because we have 2 minutes left, and I'd request each one of you to take a minute to actually talk about the mega shift that we are all in the midst of, which is AI. We don't have as many examples as we would like to say, here is what we've done, here is how it's impacted our omni-channel strategies, this is how data was used. So would love for each one of you to spend a minute on a real example where you've actually used AI, you've used data to actually provide a unique experience, and you've seen an upstick in sales. So
there are quite a few examples of usage of AI that we have, but one of them is, for example, when you look at serving up media, serving up a piece of content to a consumer, we look at, for example, if you take a Nescafe, for example, and you look at weather data and some of the external signals using AI, that when it rains or when there is a specific weather condition, that is when you serve a particular piece of communication to a consumer in a particular city in a very, very targeted manner. Now, that then gives a contextual understanding of, or a contextual resonance with the kind of external condition versus, the need to have or maybe just a trigger to have a nice cup of Nescafe, for example, and so on. Similarly, we have used quite a bit of generative AI, more from an ideation perspective. I don't think, we have ever been successful fully to have Gen AIs go straight into publishing a piece of content. But in terms of, sort of getting a lot of ideas and getting a lot of, new thoughts around stuff, which could actually trigger more creativity and more imagination, and that's what we do for many of our brands over a period of time.
Great. Thanks, Chandan. Pallavi, over to you.
Like I said, we are the new kid on the block. So AI, we've primarily looked at data at this point and said, how do we utilize this data across the consumer journey? The AI aspect of our business is still in that process of how do we utilize and how will it benefit the end user. And I'll give you one example. During festive, because they were targeted markets we needed to go to, from a CRM lens point of view, I think the team did a fantastic job of ensuring that the content we are catering to a particular market or a region has to be specific and context-led. Yes. And that's how we used it. And they were real-time creatives being generated, serving to the user, and also to our dealers, actually, because a lot of times the suppliers or the dealers are using that for their own CRM because they have very strong pool of data which is with them, which can be very specific and tailor-made. And also from a calling point of view, they use that information very well. And we saw the uplift when we knew that the customer has walked into a store and all the steps the customer took on the website, it became very context-led but also personalized. Yes. I knew you saw this color, I know you want this EMI, this insurance partner. Very easy to close. But ultimately, I think what AI, data, or even our CDPs and RT CDPs have done is that it's really helped us to close the deal. Yeah. Ultimately, we're in the business of selling. If we don't sell, no technology helps. So that's been a very simple approach towards how we are trying to solve and, of course, make business successful.
Brilliant. I think the idea of this Fire Chat was to actually bring together some of the learnings that both Chandan and Pallavi have shared with you. From a big macro trend perspective, very clearly, to wind this up, the consumers are looking for unique experiences. Also, we're in the midst of a large and mega change, whether it's about AI, whether it's about the macroeconomics, whether it's about our evolving customer set, which is Gen Z, much younger than those that we have ever experienced before. the need to customize and personalize to their customer journey, to be able to use data and insights for you to be able to have unique omni-channel strategies is real and now. And given two, industries and verticals that we've discussed today, I hope you have been able to not only contextualize for yourself, but also please free to catch us during lunch, and we look forward to having more deeper conversations as well. So thank you so much, and thank you Chandan Pallavi for joining. Thanks.
Thank you so much to all our speakers for taking out your valuable time. We just request you to stay around for a moment, as I'd now like to invite our dignitaries to join us to help us with the token of appreciation. If I could request the Vice President Marketing of Make My Trip, Abhinav Narula, along with the co-founder and CEO, We Serve, Mr. Deepak Khurana. Let's welcome them with a warm round of applause. Well, seems like a lot of hoot, and welcome Deepak, and welcome Abhinav. Thank you for joining us. We'd of course request you to help us with the token of appreciation. Abhinav, of course, let's start it with our moderator right there. Let's give them a big, big round of applause. What a fantastic discussion by Bani Dhawan, curated by her. Of course, we'd request you to now further give it to Mr. Chandan Mukherjee. And allow me an opportunity, if I could request Deepak to give the final TO. Okay, we're going to continue with that. All right, let's have that in play. But Deepak, if you can grace us with the occasion of posing and being a part of the picture. Ladies and gentlemen, let the applause continue. What a fantastic moment this is, wherein we have all our leaders on stage. And thank you once again